Yeah, hi.
You found somewhere where there are birds singing. How lovely.
Yeah,
Whereabouts are you?
I'm from India, South India.
I know you're in India, but whereabouts in India?
It's Telangana. State name is Telangana.
Okay, all right. It looks like a beautiful day there, though.
Yeah, it is lockdown here, so that's why you can hear the birds, um,
Ah,
enjoying.
yeah, no, that is one positive thing, isn't it? Yeah, very bad, very bad for you there in India. Really sorry to hear.
Yeah, but it is recovering. I mean, people are recovering. The number is uh, decreasing. The affected
Good.
number is decreasing. Yeah, it's positive now.
That's good. That's good. Yes. Well, here in England, they're beginning to let us out some more. So that means lots of people have gotten very busy wanting to organise things again. And us writers are saying, no, we're happy to stay at home. Keep writing. Yeah. So thank you for inviting me to come and speak with you. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, thank you for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Yeah, and sorry it's taken so long. And anyway, we got there. We're here now. That's good.
So, can you fix your sound? I can't hear your voice very clearly.
Okay, let me just see. Um, let's turn the volume up better. Is that any better? No,
It's okay now, but
it's
it's not
okay.
too good, but it's okay.
Which microphone? Because I haven't used Skype before, so I'm not quite sure. Um, is that any better?
Yeah. Now it's clear.
Yeah, that's good. I've just had to use a different microphone, so right, that's good. It's too much technology for us old people to cope with, but we're getting there.
Yeah. So I want to tell you again, because I can hear you now very clearly. Thank you for
Good.
accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
That's a pleasure. A pleasure.
So I thought to introduce you to my audience.
Right. You want me to introduce myself? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Cheryl Burman, and I live in the United Kingdom in a lovely part of the country called the Forest of Dean. And I'm retired, but I'm very, very busy in lots of community activities. And I also write. In fact, that's one of the major things that I like to do. So I write. I've written some children's fantasy novels, and my most recent book, out in April, is a adult historical fiction novel set in Australia in the 1950s. I am married with two grown-up children. I have a dog, and the dog has his own book as well, which is also very popular.
Okay. So you are retired.
Yes, yeah. I retired young.
So what you did before retirement?
Oh, before that, I worked for mostly large organizations in corporate roles. So I'm Australian originally, and I worked there for most of my career. But one job I had took me to Zurich. So I took my then young family to Switzerland to live for several years. And I worked for a reinsurance company. Reinsurance companies insure the insurance companies and big corporations. And I worked there in the corporate area in various jobs, but mostly in a human resources related way. And then I moved to London and I worked for the Coca-Cola company for a while as well before I left, in similar kind of roles. Seems a long time ago now.
Okay. So you are into different countries and different professions.
I what? Sorry.
You was into different countries and different
Yes.
professions.
I've worked in three countries and travelled in a lot more. I did quite a lot of travelling in my job. Glad not to be doing that anymore, especially at the moment.
So as a HR and as a person who is responsible for the insurance of the people and all.
Yes, yeah, for employing the people, for making sure they were trained properly, for making sure that people who were kind of quite good in certain areas had career opportunities, for managing change programs within the organization, quite a range of things.
Now, when did you start writing then?
I didn't start writing until we moved here to the forest, and that was probably we moved here in 2008, and I started writing probably about 2013 or so. Something happened here in England where the government decided that they wanted to sell off all the public forests, the forests that were owned by the people, and to make some money. And people, unsurprisingly, got very angry about that. But in particular here in the Forest of Dean, which has a long history of people getting angry about things that governments want to do to them for centuries and centuries, they got particularly upset. And there was a big campaign, and I got involved in that, very involved in that. And afterwards, once the government had changed its mind, I was walking through the forest with the dog, and I suddenly thought, I could probably turn that into some kind of a story. And the story kind of popped into my head, and I came home and started writing it. So that was how I got started. I've learned a lot since. I learned a lot about writing since.
So what is your intention behind writing this story? You want to create awareness, or
No, it was really that I just, I'd always wanted to write a book. Many people always want to write a book, and I thought, well, this seemed a good opportunity to actually do so. So I just literally sat down and kind of typed, and I didn't think of it as being a book to create awareness or anything like that. And it was only when some people said in the reviews that it had this kind of very subtle message of environmental awareness and so on that I thought, oh, maybe it does. I thought I was just writing a fairy story. But, obviously that was what motivated me, what inspired me. So that message came through. I completely rewrote them about 18 months ago because I had learned, as I said, a lot about writing in the meantime. And I enjoyed doing that too, actually. It's 3 books. It's a trilogy. Hang on, I'll show you one of the covers. So if you can see that, that's the last book in the trilogy. It's called Griffin Magic, because there are griffins. There's a griffin that stars in the book. I didn't want to have dragons, so I thought I'd have something different. I had griffins.
But you was into MNCs before your retirement. Why don't you think to write a book on something which is related to HR and the management and?
Oh no, how boring! I wanted to get away from all of that. No, that was my career. That was done. No, it's really funny, I never write anything that's contemporary. I don't want to write about the real world, the current real world. I'd much rather write historical work about people and places that were some time ago, or pure fantasy, rewrite fairy stories, that kind of thing. I just find that much more interesting than what goes on at the moment. So no, wouldn't want to do.
So people around you or the people who follows you, definitely they saw you as a person who worked and as a working woman. Now you shifted your mind and the job of yours. You became an extrovert and you started putting the thoughts of the things which are happening in the society. So when you put it on a book and just if you're selling it and if they are reading it, what is the response that they are telling the people who saw you before and now? What is their
All right.
reaction?
The people who knew me before, they're never really surprised about what I might be doing next. So, oh, Cheryl's off on one of her things again. I think, yeah, it's interesting because we moved as well. I have a lot of new friends here whom I've, have always known me as being a writer. And friends and family from before just think that it's really nice that I'm doing something different. I mean, lots of people have different careers during their working life. I worked in different areas during my working life, so I regard this as just another phase in my career, I suppose. It's the worst paid one, of course, that I've ever had, but it's also the most satisfying one. It's the one I've enjoyed the most.
And also, you said there's a book on your dog.
Yeah, no, because we live in a forest. When we first moved here, I had a different dog, and I said to the builder who was renovating our house, "Where can I take the dog for a walk?" And he looked around and he said, "There are 20,000 acres of forest here. You can take the dog for a walk anywhere," which was not very helpful because, you can get lost in that kind of area of land. So I did get lost many times. I found walks and trails and all the rest of it. And we would walk for hours learning our way around. And it was my husband's idea, actually. He said, "Why don't you write a book of dog walks?" And the dog's name is Sammy, so we called it Sammy's Walks. And so he gave me a GPS thing, and now I can do it all on my phone, but I had a little camera, my GPS, and we kind of walked these routes, and then he produced the book for me with the maps, and I wrote up the descriptions. And it's gone through 5 editions now, and it's sold a few thousand, 2,000 to 3,000 copies online and locally in shops here as well. And it keeps on being quite popular because we have lots of newcomers to the forest with dogs who need to learn their way around, like I did. And we have lots of tourists who like to come and not get lost on the 2 days that they're here. So it does very well. And the dog is quite a hero. People know him. We meet people in the forest who say, "Is that Sammy? I have his book."
So you live near to the forest.
Yeah, we live just on the edge of the forest. I mean, I can walk into the forest from where I live. Yes. Just walk up the hill and I'm in the middle of the forest. It's very nice.
You see animals?
Oh, yes, we have lots of deer, different kind of deer. Occasionally we see a fox. They have the biggest foxes here. I mean, they're huge. They're beautiful animals. We see lots of squirrels, of course. And but now here in the forest we also have wild boar. They were kind of a small family of wild boar were dumped here about 10-12 years ago, and of course the population has exploded, and so we quite often come across them in the forest, and the little babies are very, very cute. The little striped piglets are very sweet, but some people don't like the boar, especially when they come into the towns and they dig up the recreation grounds and the verges and, even get into people's gardens. It's not very good. But to see them in the forest is rather nice. So yes, yeah, and lots of birds too, different kinds of birds.
So what you learned in all these years, you are into different professions, different countries, and You're observing a lot of things, observed a lot of
Yes.
things. So what you learned? What do you call yourself as?
Yeah, what do you learn? I think you one of the things you learn is that while people in different countries can be different superficially, people are basically people underneath. That is one thing you learn very quickly. You learn that it's, I mean, I've had fun learning different things about different countries. And even now, I meet every week with two women from America for a couple of hours where we swap chapters of our books that we're writing and we talk about them and offer each other suggestions. And we just have so much fun even learning different things between America and the UK, different words, different expressions, and so on. So that's quite interesting as well. So it always goes on. I think I've learned also that I don't like cold, wet, miserable weather such as we're having in England at the moment. But then I wouldn't want to go back to Australia to live where it's often 45 degrees. So no. Yeah, I think you learn to be comfortable wherever you are and to not worry too much about having to really kind of fit in. You just learn to be yourself.
So, what are your favorite books?
My favorite books. I recently read a book by Maggie O'Farrell, who wrote Hamnet. Hamnet's been a huge success. It's based on the story of Shakespeare's young son who died when he was 11. And it's a lovely book. But I read another one of hers called The Hand That First Held Mine, which was actually published in 2010. That's a really, really lovely book. And it's because of the way of the characters. What I like are books that are all about people and characters and what kind of drives them and their stories. So I also love, for example, Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall trilogy about Thomas Cromwell, because that's all about Cromwell as a man, as she kind of perceives him, and his inner thoughts and what happens to him. And it's beautifully written. So I don't like horror stories. I don't like crime stuff very much. I'll read, I used to, though I don't anymore, kind of read, police kind of things and so on very often. I very much like books that, as I said, are about kind of people and what happens to them as individuals and how they change and learn and grow.
What do you think about the people who are living in the parts where you didn't live?
Living in the past.
Living in the parts of the world where you didn't live.
Oh, the people who live here in the forest. What do I think about them? Is that what you mean?
No, the people who are living in the parts where you didn't live.
I'm sorry, Sai, I don't understand the question.
Okay, I will ask you in a simple way.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What do you think about the people who are living in other countries, not in your country or not in the countries
Oh,
where you
right. Okay.
lived?
People who live in other countries. No, I'd love to meet people who live in other countries. So, yeah, I think because I have traveled and lived in different countries, and it's, as I said before, it kind of opens your eyes to the fact that, people can be different, but underneath can be are very much the same. I don't really think anything one way or the other about them. They're all just, if I meet them, they're individuals. I don't think of them en masse as being those people. Is that what you mean? That
Yeah.
will do.
So you observe things which is happening in other countries.
Yeah, I'm not really, I have to say this, I'm not really good at following the news very much anymore because it all seems to be a bit the same. Um, and, I kind of, like your situation in India has been very shocking, and my heart goes out to people because of what's going on there. What's been happening recently in Israel, between Israel and Palestine also. And that was actually brought home quite closely to me because one of my good friends on Twitter lives in Jerusalem, and she had to kind of get her mother out of kind of, the areas that were being bombed and so on. And you kind of suddenly realize, oh, this is happening to, people that you know. But my kind of view of those kind of things is that they're really sad. There are some greedy people, there are some wicked people, there are, many people who just have very little humanity. And it's always been like that. It's always been like that. And it will always be like that. Just with modern technology, we learn about it more, and we learn about it more quickly. So yes, you can get angry and you can say it's horrible, and you can perhaps do what you can about it. But that's it, really.
So what do you think that is working for you and worked for you to be happy?
To be able to write a good story makes me very happy. To walk in the woods makes me very happy. This last weekend, I was able to see my grown-up son and his wife for the first time in 9 months. They live in London, so they were able to visit, and that made me very, very happy. It was just so lovely to see them. And what will make me very happy is my grown-up daughter lives in Switzerland, and I haven't seen her for 18 months. And when I can finally get to see her, I will be a very happy mother. So, yeah, it's having kind of friends and family around me, being able to see them, to be able to kind of, do my work, to do things in the community, working with other people. They're the things that I really enjoy doing.
So you lived on this planet for a long time. So what do you want to change something that you don't like in all your experience? If you become a superficial element,
If I could change something
yeah, that you don't like that you wanted to change,
in my life,
yeah, in your experience.
um, hmm, hmm, I wouldn't change a lot in my life. If I was in charge of the whole world, what would I change? Is that the question?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, well, that's the obvious one, isn't it? Peace to all men, stop hunger, war, etc., etc. Just something small like that. I think one of the things I would really seriously like to change is I think it needs to happen much more quickly what people are doing to the earth. And, just here in our own area, it's just the little things like, my garden is fairly untidy and it has lots of flowers and things like that to encourage the bees. But, where are the bees? And those kinds of things that I think people are becoming more aware, but it would be better if governments and big corporations shared that awareness and did something and helped people to do something much more quickly. I think we're heading for troubled times unless some major changes are made in the way in which we actually manage the resources we have here on Earth. So she with all her computer stuff plugged in, but never mind.
So what is the difference between the place that you are living now and the place where there are no trees or no forest?
um, what would be the difference? Yes, here we have lots of trees, lots of forest. Sorry, what would be the difference?
What is the effect how, I mean, the effect that you got because you are very close to the forest, right? You get
Oh, right.
that
Yes,
that
I would be very
environmental
unhappy. Yes.
thoughts.
Yeah, I couldn't live. I've always been a kind of a country girl. I grew up in the outer suburbs and the countryside in South Australia. I'm not very happy in cities. Um, Never really have been. They're nice to visit, nice to go and do some shopping and eat at some nice restaurants. But living there, no, I really couldn't do that. So they make jokes about the people who live in the Forest of Dean that we don't like to leave, and we say it of ourselves. Because there's a big river, the River Severn, that kind of separates us from the rest of England. And we talk about going across the river and how it's always nice to come back into the forest from, that other place over there.
Can I say the environment is one of the major reasons why you wrote the book?
No, well, it was. It was not so much environment. It was, what I said before, the government wanted to sell the forests, which meant that maybe we wouldn't be able to go into them anymore. So, people would have built, I don't know, big holiday resorts or cut down all the trees or, built houses or whatever. So it was that kind of thought that they were going to take away this wonderful resource that was freely accessible to people all over England. So in that sense, it was more about people being able to have benefits, to take good advantage of the natural world, and that might be removed. It wasn't so much environment per se as I was just talking about. It was more about our right to be able to go and walk where we wanted in amongst the trees, which is very good for you to walk in the trees, proven scientifically to be good for you.
So what you are telling with the book to the world?
My
You're
new
sending a message, or you wanted to you wanted the readers to think in a certain way, or you just want to say because
No,
you just felt?
I just wanted to tell a story. I mean, with all my books, with all my stories, I don't I don't kind of set out to kind of preach to people or send a message or anything. Who am I to do that? But I mean, with my new book, Keepers, the one that is set in Australia in the 1950s, that is just purely a story about some people who have to grow up pretty quickly. It's got no messages in it. It's just, this is what happens. This is how it works. So no, I don't have a a stand. I'm not what's her name, Greta Thunberg, by any means. Though I admire her immensely.
So what do you think that works to be connected?
What's to be connected?
People, if what do you think in your experience, what you understood that this is what works for people to be together?
For people to be together.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
I mean the relationship, what works?
Oh yes, how relationships work.
Yeah, in your experience, what you feel that works and that worked for you,
Oh, I
what you
see.
believe, that is your
Okay.
perspective.
Yeah, sure. For me, it's really, really simple. It's about tolerance. It's about understanding that, and there's very little of this these days, you might have a different view about something from me. That's fine. If your view doesn't hurt people, then you can have that view. And I don't think you're a bad person because you've got that view. You're just different. And I hope that people extend that same feeling towards me. So it's about trying to understand other people's views and where they're coming from. And that to me is what makes relationships, big and small, work. It's being open-minded.
What do you think the life is about?
What is life is about? What's the meaning of life? Oh, well, according to Douglas Adams, it's number 42. No, well, it's a very deep question, but I think life is largely about being optimistic and looking forward and making the best of the opportunities that you've got and keeping on doing things. I mean, I could never be the kind of person who said, okay, I'm not working for paid money anymore, so I'm going to sit and watch television all day. I mean, to me, that's a waste. And everybody's got something that interests them, whether it's the garden, whether it's writing, whether it's reading, whether it's working in their local charity shop, whatever it is. Everybody will be able to find something that interests them. And they should take the opportunity to actually make the most of that while they've got the time to do it.
So what do you think that is working and that is driving you to do things and making you wake up in the morning and do things?
A long list of things to do. People who know me will tell you that I cannot sit still for very long. I always need to be doing something, to have a project. And I'm one of these people that come up with these kind of like ideas, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea if we did X, Y, and Z? And then I end up being the one mostly doing X, Y, and Z. And sometimes I kind of go, oh, why did I think of that? That was stupid. But mostly that is what keeps me going, that, why I wake up in the morning. It's to actually get on and be doing stuff.
Okay. At last, do you have anything to say to the people who are listening and watching you?
Thank you very much for bearing with this rambling nonsense. Lovely to chat. Lovely to get a sort of a sneak of what's going on there behind you. It's getting dark now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. No. Very nice.
You can see another view.
Oh, right. Lovely. Oh, wow. It's a long time since I was in India, a very, very long time. But I have very fond memories of it. Beautiful country. Beautiful country. So, yes, I do thank people for listening. And if they've just found one thing that they can relate to in our conversation, to say, yeah, that makes sense, or, oh, she's just a mad woman, that's fine as well.
Definitely, they will learn at least one point from what you said. I'm sure it will be very useful for at least different country people will be watching this. At least different people thinks in different ways. Definitely
Right.
don't know which point of yours connects with which person.
No,
So that's why I asked questions that you didn't expect it.
Yeah, no, it was great. The other thing that people who know me will say is that I don't have much trouble talking, so that's good. So thank you very much for having me on.
I'll put your book links in the description of this video. People who finds our video on YouTube, they can find your link and they can go through your book.
To my website.
Yeah, your website and all your links, wherever your books are there, send me that. I will put in the description. Okay,
so I send you that through DM, through Twitter. Yeah. I can do that for you. Thank you, Sai. Is it Sai? Is that how you say your name?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I should have asked that to start with. Terribly sorry. It was lovely to chat with you. Really enjoyed it. So you take care. I'll do that straight away. Okay.
Yeah. Can I or at last, have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I had a very brief look the other day, but just kind of briefly put in. Why would you like me to go and look?
No, I will tell you, and I'll be talking with the people who are from different countries and from different professions, and who are into different works. I just talk with them like nutritionist, software engineer, politician,
Yeah,
police
wow.
police
Very good.
officer, and
Excellent.
army officer, like that. So, what
Gosh.
do you say as a writer, a human being doing talking with different country people who are into different professions, having different experiences? What do you think that helps me in doing this?
Well, you seem to be doing quite well at doing this, but I think, I mean, you ask interesting questions. You put people kind of get them to express their opinions. I think you have a really nice, comfortable style. You're very relaxing to talk to. That's so important, very important. Well, I enjoyed chatting to you. So I'm sure if people didn't, they'd stop talking to you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for giving me your valuable time and telling about your thoughts and about your
No,
experiences and about your books.
no, it's been lovely. Okay, take care.
Can I put this audio and video clip on my YouTube channel, social media, internet, podcast, website, everywhere with your permission?
Yes, yes, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, my life is an open book.
Thank you. Take care. Keep
All
doing
right,
what you love.
you too. Okay, bye.
Bye.